Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, death slicers, peasants, vassals, minions. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And today I want to talk about Fukushima. And as always, I only do these videos on Fukushima occasionally, but it is one of the most important stories of our time and certainly affects every single person and creature on this planet. A tragedy of epic proportions, and we're still seeing more and more horror stories unfold. And so my hat tip to the likes of Ms. Milky the Clown and Missing Sky for doing diligence in covering this Fukushima story on a daily basis, month after month, year after year, week after week, day after day. And this needs to be done because a couple of things that mark the story of Fukushima is one is the nature of the destruction and the massive amount of damage done continues to be revealed year after year, month after month, week after week, but also the epic amount of cover-up and lies that have been perpetrated by the Japanese government, the American government, Tepco, all these years. And so occasionally I have to do a video just because more and more spectacular damage is revealed and more lies are revealed. And this is a case of that yet again. So first of all, as I kind of pick up where I left off in my previous video about Fukushima Horror Show, Global Horror Show 2014, and a lot of the same factors are in play here. We have a massive disease and maladies of wildlife all up and down the West Coast, including mutations. And we have a drop in the number of seabirds. I live here in Seattle, Washington. I can attest to the fact that it's an amazing drop in the population of seabirds in the area. I've lived here for many, many years, and I can attest to the fact that it's notable to see how much seabirds have disappeared. Caribou mortality rates are high. We have radioactive tuna, dissolving starfish, sea lions, and salmon, depletion in stocks. I'll attach a video from Vancouver, Canada, north of here, where a local has done a survey to find that, as far as he can tell, there's a lot of dead zones in the ocean, and certainly off the coast of Canada. So we're seeing these effects of Fukushima all over the globe. And although the experts in the media seem to contest whether these effects are from Fukushima, for the most part, all over the globe, these anomalies are happening, and people are making these connections, and it seems almost not debatable that there is some kind of connection. Particularly as I go through all the news stories that have come out about Fukushima, we're finding more and more scientists saying that the impacts should be obvious all over the globe because the amount of radiation released is significantly higher than previously admitted to, and the damage far more severe. So the fact that there's going to be a connection between all these global anomalies and wildlife death, this connection to Fukushima will be more and more clear. Then we have a debris coming in from the tsunami debris from Japan, as well as irradiated the tsunami debris off the coast of California now, 1,000 miles off the coast. Apparently 7 tons of it, 80 foot long. A human being could actually walk on it. And there's a 400% spike in the radiation level of this debris field. And then we have debris waist high in areas of Canada. So this is starting to wash ashore, and we're going to find out more about levels of radiation. Of course, one of the ironic things here in the west coast of the U.S. is initially they were testing fish and beaches here for radiation because people were so concerned. But once public outcry died, they quit even checking the radiation levels because there's no longer any reason to, I suppose. So let's get to some of the gruesome details of some of these new reports. We have 200 trillion becquerels in fuel rod materials found near Tokyo, 170 kilometers away from the source of Fukushima. This is uranium in glassy little spheres, and then there's structural material from the nuclear reactors also present, and some of this material is also running off into the ocean. But that's a staggering admission to find out that stuff from the nuclear reactors, the very cores, fuel rods, this material was blown over 170 kilometers away and close to Tokyo in these really bizarre little uranium glassy spheres. And and this also brings the radiation 200 trillion becquerels in fuel rod materials close to Tokyo. And we have Japanese doctors who are saying that Tokyo should no longer be inhabited. So there are some experts who see a huge amount of radiation in there, and that the entire population of Japan in that area could be affected. And as I brought up in previous videos, we're already seeing the results in local populations around Fukushima, and the numbers are starting to go through the ceiling for thyroid cancer and other radiation-associated diseases. And like I say, now we find out that there's the fuel rod materials not only got spread all over the region, but they're also running off into the ocean along with all the other irradiated water being dumped into the ocean, 400 tons a day now. And nuclear fuel and core material is completely exposed and has sunk into the cement holding tank below. And this is something that they've talked about all along, is the complete meltdown of these nuclear cores and the fuel rods, and that removal of them is going to be nearly impossible. That they don't even know how far down they've melted. They know that they're at least triple the previous known depth. So these cores continue to penetrate down further, and once again it will be radiating the water, which will run off into the ocean. And this is pure, unfiltered, radiated water. And then we have trenches that are filled with thousands of tons of plutonium-contaminated liquid that are now also leaking into the ocean with no solution at hand. So just like we have these tanks of water that's being supposedly filtered, and a lot of that has to be dumped because they're running out of space, we also have these trenches full of thousands of tons of plutonium-contaminated water, and that's going off in the ocean. So we have the groundwater, we have the water cooling the reactors, we have all these different sources of irradiated water going into the ocean every day, so no wonder we're having dead zones in the Pacific Ocean. And then it turns out that a new report says that 278 trillion becquerels of plutonium were released, 200 times the amount reported by Tepco previously, and it's a huge amount, even the amount they underreported, but now it's 200 times that, a staggering amount of plutonium. So once again, the levels of radiation and the array of types of radiation that are being released from Fukushima continue to rise this many years later. It's not going down. We're getting the admission of not only staggering amounts being released every day now, but the fact that staggering amounts have been being released for years now, and they're only finally admitting to it. So, just like so many other things that have to do with government cover-ups and corporate cover-ups, how are the citizenry supposed to know what to think or how to act, and what kind of measures are being taken to address these massive tragedies? If we can't count on the right numbers and the truth, how can anyone be able to take the right steps and make these companies responsible for these events? So then we have water underneath the reactors will just be dumped into the ocean. So now we find out that the water underneath the reactors is going to be dumped straight into the ocean. And it's getting to the point now where I can't even keep track of all the different sources of water that are full of radiation that are being dumped into the Pacific Ocean. So it's not even worth having a discussion whether there's some connection between Fukushima and all these strange events we have coming up in the Pacific Ocean. And then we have surges in released radiation that have been going on for years, a new report. And that ties in what I've been talking about in this whole video as well, these massive amounts of radiation being released. And they're finally admitting to it, and now yet another report comes out says these surges in released radiation, and that's how we reach these 200, 300, 400 trillion becquerel levels of release. So we have just, once again, this massive horror show unfolding in Fukushima, and the more and more truth that gets released, the more and more horrible it becomes. And at some point, there has to be a tipping point where the results are so catastrophic, they're going to have to admit to what the source is. In the meantime, we find Japanese media and Western media burying the story, this cover-up going on, obscuring the facts even when they do manage to come out. And unfortunately, much more horror show to come. And I'm sure I'll be doing a Fukushima 2015 horror show video, undoubtedly, if I'm still here. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.